Hello everyone, welcome to the second installment of ranking every Harry Potter chapter, Sorcerer's Stone edition. To recap, after episode 1, the 3 chapters making it to the final chapter versus chapter grand finale are Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived, Chapter 12, The Mirror of Erised, as well as Chapter 17, The Man with Two Faces. Those 3 chapters in book 1 all received the perfect score of a 10 and will be candidates for becoming the best chapter. But of course, we have to get through all the books first. Today is episode 2, so we will be reviewing the Chamber of Secrets, giving each chapter a numerical rank 1 through 10. Every chapter that gets a 10 automatically qualifies for the final head-to-head grand finale. I will also be nominating 3 honorable mentions, which will be up to the viewers, you guys, to decide which of those 3, you only get to vote for 1, makes it to the final as well. That way, just in case I ignore or give a lower rank to a chapter that you love, you have an opportunity to save it. So stick to the end of the video for that. But with that, we'll get right to the rankings of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, starting with Chapter 1, The Worst Birthday. I'm giving this chapter a 7. It's a good start to the book. We don't need as much recap over Harry's life. We already know who he is. It's kind of slow. Not a great chapter, just a good chapter. Chapter 2, Dobby's Warning. I love that we get into the magic so quickly in this book. I'm giving this chapter an 8. We have the fun bit where Dobby drops pudding into the Dursleys' living room. Harry gets into a bit of trouble. Things are getting started rather quickly in this book. I'm liking where this is headed. Chapter 3 is titled The Burrow, and this is one of my favorite chapters in the whole series. I'm giving this chapter a 10. This is our first 10 of this video. Let me know right now in the comments how many 10s you think the Chamber of Secrets deserves. The fun scene where Harry is rescued at his window by the Weasleys. It's one of the most exciting moments to me as a Harry Potter reader, to be pulled away and saved by our friends as the Dursleys are so cruelly trying to keep us trapped. It makes it that much more relieving and heartwarming when we do make it to the Burrow with Mrs. Weasley and Mr. Weasley. This is the most immersed I ever feel in the wizarding world. I love seeing the Weasley's house, Mrs. Weasley, Ginny rather. All of the gnomes, the denoming of the garden is one of my favorite moments in the book. It's so cozy, it's so fun. There's nothing quite like getting to spend the summer as a wizard. Chapter 4, At Flourish and Blots. I'm ranking this chapter an 8. This chapter is very iconic. We get the famous mispronunciation of diagonally, except that only happens in the movies. In the book, Harry just stutters and says Diagon Alley. So they don't quite hit the same punchline there. But other than that, we get a fun scene with Malfoy. We meet up with the gang, and we first get introduced to Gilderoy Lockhart. My favorite moment in this chapter is Mr. Weasley getting into a scrap with Lucius Malfoy, who very clearly deserves it. Moving on to Chapter 5, The Whomping Willow. I'm giving this chapter an 8. Another really enjoyable chapter. I like how in this scene, as compared to the movies, we have a bit more build-up before we fail to get onto the Hogwarts Express. I like seeing them all pack into the car and then make it to King's Cross Station. And there's a nice bit of build-up leading into the moment where you don't make it through the barrier, making it that much more surprising. And the whole scene, flying in the car, getting bored, eating candy, and then it losing gas or steam towards the end, all really, really exciting. I really enjoy this chapter. We introduce a very important piece of geography with the Whomping Willow, which plays a big role in book 3 as well. Overall, solid start to this book. All right, chapter 6, we have Gilderoy Lockhart. I'm giving this chapter a 7. Nothing much happens here. We're establishing Lockhart's character, how egotistical he is. We meet Justin Finch Fletchley, as well as Colin Creevy. We have a fun lesson with Professor Sprout, where we learn what mandrakes are, and we continue to deal with Ron's broken wand, which he broke in the previous chapter. Moving on to chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs. I'm giving this chapter a 7. We get the infamous scene where Hermione is called a mudblood by Malfoy. The comedic moment where Ron's wand backfires when he's trying to curse Malfoy with slugs, as well as the introduction of Malfoy to the Slytherin Quidditch team. Overall, an enjoyable chapter, keeps things moving along, but nothing too special. Chapter 8, The Death Day Party. I'm giving this chapter a 6. Speaking of nothing that special, this is a unique moment getting to see what ghosts do in their spare time. And that's about it. So it's a unique thing for Harry Potter lore. Certainly something I enjoy reading as a fervent Potterhead, but nothing that really potent for this book. I do believe we're around Halloween at this point in the book. Moving on to chapter 9, The Writing on the Wall. I'm giving this chapter a 7. The first spooky moment of this book, we get that creepy warning by the heir of Slytherin. The chamber has been opened. Enemies of the heir beware. Written in, I believe, to be Chicken Blood, things are starting to pick up with the main plot, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Chapter 10, The Rogue Bludger. I'm giving this chapter an 8. This is one of my favorite chapters in this book, where Dobby inexplicably tries to kill Harry, but, nearly kill him because he wants to discourage him from being at Hogwarts to begin with. And Gilderoy, if he wasn't making enemies before, my goodness, he's certainly making them now, rushes to help Harry's broken arm and makes things worse. This is also the chapter where Hermione introduces the idea of Polyjuice Potion, so they can retrieve more information out of Malfoy, who they suspect could be the heir of Slytherin. Chapter 11, The Dueling Club. I'm giving this chapter a 7. A really important chapter. Harry speaks Parseltongue for the first time, and we discover that he has an ability that is very rare even amongst wizards. This is a contrast to everything else in the wizarding world, which is totally new to Harry. Harry somehow is doing something that is shocking everyone else. Very enjoyable chapter. We get a duel between Harry and Malfoy, and if ever there was a moment where I was rooting for Snape, it was certainly in his encounter with Gilderoy. This chapter ends with Harry discovering Justin Finch Fletchley's body frozen in the corridor, and now everyone's convinced that Harry is in fact the heir of Slytherin. Chapter 12, The Polyjuice Potion. Hermione turns into a cat. My goodness. This chapter I am giving an 8. We start the chapter with Harry having a gloomy walk to the headmaster's office, but Dumbledore, being our man as always, knows that Harry is innocent. They do get to turn into Crabbe and Goyle, prod Malfoy for some answers, but they just discover that he isn't doing anything, actually. This is the second chapter now that they've gone to visit Myrtle in her bathroom, and of course Myrtle's going to be very important for the rest of this book. Chapter 13, The Very Secret Diary. I'm giving this chapter a 9. This is the chapter where we first encounter this mysterious diary, and who is the boy named Tom Riddle. Very enjoyable chapter. I love the way the magic works in this scene where Harry gets absorbed into the page, and anything that gives us more Hogwarts lore, I just eat up. So fun to see a young Voldemort, a young Hagrid, a young Dumbledore, a Professor Dippet. So much of the plot in this book evolves around the castle itself, and that makes me very happy. I'm a huge fan of Hogwarts. Chapter 14, Cornelius Fudge. I'm giving this chapter a 9. We get to meet the Minister of Magic, and shocking turns are taking place in this book. Hagrid is getting arrested because he is accused of being the original and second time offender of opening the Chamber of Secrets. But also, in a twist turn, Dumbledore is getting sacked. Or rather, he's supposedly being asked to resign. But of course, we know that Lucius Malfoy is twisting the arms of the fellow governors. I really love this scene in Hagrid's hut where Harry and Ron are hiding under the invisibility cloak, listening to all of this juicy information, only to be left a couple of nuggets by Dumbledore and Hagrid. Dumbledore, of course, being a little bit more coy in the way he communicates with them. But we know now what to do. Follow the spiders. Chapter 15, Aragog. I'm giving this chapter a 9. It is up to Harry and Ron to save the day now. Hermione has been frozen, as well as our friends Justin Flenchley and Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington, and Filch's cat. So it's up to Ron and Harry to save the day, and poor little Ron is going to have to face his fears. I love going in the Forbidden Forest, and this is one of the creepiest adventures going in there without an adult, only in our second year, and we barely make it out of there alive. Thank you very much for enchanting that car, Mr. Weasley. Chapter 16, The Chamber of Secrets. I'm giving this chapter an 8. Overall, a very solid chapter. It's not quite making it to a 9 for me, just for overall enjoyability. But we know what to do now. We know that the monster is a snake thanks to Hermione's efforts in the library. And now we got to find a way to find the chamber. And all the dots are starting to come together at the end here. We know that Moaning Myrtle was killed right around the time that the chamber was opened. They figure it out. Harry speaks Parseltongue and they discover the chamber. Only now the stakes have grown even higher because Ron's sister has been taken into the chamber. Chapter 17, The Heir of Slytherin. I'm giving this chapter an 8 as well. We are down in the chamber. It's Ron, Gilderoy Lockhart, and Harry. Gilderoy, of course, has lost his memory due to a memory charm attempt he tried to place on Ron, except it backfired, of course. Stupid Gilderoy. Well, they're stuck behind a rock avalanche. It's up to Harry now to defeat the snake, and this isn't my favorite ending to a Harry Potter book. I really like the snake. I like monsters in general, and I like the chamber. But this scene overall wasn't as impactful for me as the scene with the Mirror of Erised and Voldemort and Quirrell in the first book. So it's not getting above an 8 for me. I thought the battle with the snake was a little underwhelming. I really like Fawkes, but a lot of plot was coming together in a way that felt a bit clumsy and not super well thought out. I wish, for example, that Phoenix Tears having healing powers was introduced early in the book. There just felt to be a few things, including the Sword of Gryffindor, that seemed to occur when we needed them most, but in a way out of thin air. And I don't like it when stories do that. I do like this whole concept of a spirit of Voldemort haunting the castle, using this diary as a medium for him to do it. And all of that I really dig. I like using the Basilisk's Fang to destroy the diary and therefore destroy Voldemort, especially because of us knowing later that this is a Horcrux. It works beautifully for that reason. But again, it's just the other plot parts that happen that make it a bit too convenient to believe. With that, we make it to the final chapter of this book. If you've made it this far, all I can say is you're a Potterhead. Thanks for watching. We're on to chapter 18. This chapter is called Dobby's Reward. I'm giving this chapter an 8. We get a little bit of an explanation from Dumbledore. This is one of the rare times in the stories where it seems like Dumbledore is genuinely surprised as to how this all happened. You know, he didn't know about the diary. In the other stories, he has a pretty good grip on what's going on, even if he inexplicably doesn't interfere as much as maybe he should. With this one, it seems like he doesn't know. Like, he genuinely didn't know where the chamber was or how any of this was happening. He knew it had to be Voldemort, but as he says earlier in the book, we know who it is, but the question is how. How are they doing it? Well, we know how now thanks to Harry, and the best moment, maybe in this entire book, is the liberating of Dobby. Harry, of course, tricks Lucius Malfoy into giving Dobby a sock, And Dobby, who's been such a pain in our butt, is now so unbelievably lovable. He is such a defendant of Harry, and there's a lot of protective love we feel towards Dobby at the end of this book. Really satisfying to see Lucius Malfoy get knocked on his behind by his own house elf. All right, and with that, it is time to assign this book its official book score. In order to do that, we need to calculate the average chapter score for this book. So let's do some math. The average chapter score and the official book score for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is 7.9. Ooh, almost an 8, and just a couple of tenths of a point lower than Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So let me know what y'all think about this book. I gotta say, going into this, I thought this book was gonna rank higher than Sorcerer's Stone. This is a book that I've always defended and one that I constantly see at the bottom of people's tier lists, and I never know why, because it's so much fun. I have to assume it has something to do with the way this book ends, but I gotta say, this might be the easiest read as far as moving along chapter to chapter. We don't have a lot of dips. We just glide through 8s and 9s and 7s. Granted, we only had 110, but again, lots of 8s, 9s, and 7s. Really, really smooth read overall. But does come just a bit shy, so overall at this point, Sorcerer's Stone is leading the race with a score of 8.1. But we did have one chapter get a 10 in this book, and that is Chapter 3, The Burrow. So Chapter 3, The Burrow, alongside our 3 chapters from Sorcerer's Stone that also received a 10, will be making it to the grand finale in a head-to-head competition, probably knockout style, where we'll pin them head-to-head to see which chapter is definitively the best Harry Potter chapter. In my opinion, of course. The worst chapter in this book is The Death Day Party with a score of 6. Let's get to our honorable mentions for this book. Okay, the first honorable mention is Chapter 13, The Very Secret Diary. Chapter 15, Aragog. And Chapter 18, Dobby's Reward. Let me know which one of these 3 you think should make it to the finale alongside our 10s. If you didn't vote in last episode's poll, it's still up. We need more votes to decide which one's going to make it, so make sure to check out episode 1 if you haven't seen it. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. This has been ranking every chapter in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And I will see you next week for the very popular Prisoner of Azkaban. Thank you for watching, everybody.